they've got the best punter in the country. And Adam Korsak has set every record punting in program history. There's no other way to put it. He's the best punter in America, and he's a ridiculous weapon.
Welcome to another episode of Off the Bench. I have the GOAT, the one who can do it all, man of many talents, Adam Korsak with me here today. Adam, what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Feeling good. How are those legs after that workout?
Pretty sore, but we're putting the work in, you know? All right, let's get into it. You're from Australia, and you played Australian football or rugby, as they call it.
Yep.
So how did it all start with, like, your journey of getting into playing football?
Yeah. When I was in Australia, when I was a kid growing up, I always played a bunch of sports, Australian football, cricket, golf. I surfed a little bit, skateboard, just kind of everything. I was very interested in all sports. And then my dad had a big interest in American sports in general, but in particular college football and NFL. And he would show me movies and buy me video games like Madden. And that's
what console did you play it on?
PS2.
PS2, huh?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Old school, man.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got my interest in American football. I was kind of introduced to it pretty young, but I was obviously playing Australian football and cricket and doing my thing. And it's always in the back of my mind that seeing a guy on TV that was a punter from Australia, I was like, that's interesting. Always in the back of my mind that could be a possibility. And then I kind of got to 17 and I was like, I'll investigate this a little further. So I kind of worked out where those punters were all coming from, and they were coming from a spot called Pro Kick Australia, which was an academy in Melbourne where I'm from. It wasn't too far from me. And I just went down there for a few sessions, and I was at the time I was still playing Australian football and cricket, but I was just trying to work out what it was. And anyway, I went to Pro Kick and kind of got hooked, and I was there for maybe a year or so, and then started getting myself into a position to get recruited by different schools. And there was, at the time there was probably 15 to 20 guys that were ready to go at the Division 1 level for Pro Kick Australia. They do a great job of getting guys ready, and we just worked our way through different schools. And fortunately enough, in July 2017, I committed to Rutgers.
Was Rutgers like the only school that was looking at you, or you had other schools as well?
Yeah, so how Pro Kick Australia do it is they go like on a school-to-school basis, so which contrasts how we do it here with high school kids. They just gather a bunch of offers, and then they do their top 6, and there's a whole countdown, and then they choose their school, right? We go school by school, and if it's not a fit for a visa reason or if it's not a fit for an academic reason, then we kind of just go to the next, and eventually one will hit, right? And because there's so many guys ready, and I actually like doing it that way. So I had a few schools sort of drop out and a few things fall out, and it is what it is, but everything happens for a reason, and it got to Rutgers, and very glad that happened 5 years later, for sure.
Definitely. So you mentioned that you played Australian football back home. So what's kind of like the difference between that style of football and American football that we play here? Yeah,
so I like to describe it very simply as like the contact of rugby, but the positioning of soccer, and it's played on a field twice the size as a football field. And there's 18 on the pitch at any time, each side, so 36 total.
Yep.
And it's kind of a free-for-all 360. You chase a ball around for 4 quarters.
People are tackling each other.
And the only way to score is to punt the ball through the uprights either end. The middle is 6, either side of that is 1. And to pass the ball throughout, because it's a large field, to pass the ball to each other, you have to punt it. If you threw it, that would be a penalty or a flag for the other team.
Got it.
So you have to punt the ball. So that's why you see so many Australians in college and in the NFL having so much success, because there's like a built-in accuracy. There's a built-in instinct of kicking the ball while people are chasing you, kicking the ball through little windows, because you're getting 360 contact. So I think that's why you see Australians having success, because they have a little bit of that built-in instinct from a young age. I mean, I started playing Australian football when I was 6.
Right.
So I've been punting the ball for a while, and in all different ways and of all different angles and getting chased. So definitely a natural thing for Australians to do.
Definitely. So then, like, getting into what you did here for Rutgers, I mean, you hold so many records and really impressive things. You had, 150 consecutive punts without a touchback.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into it, right? Like, you got the gunners and the protection and stuff, and then obviously you're punting.
Yeah.
How much work does it really put in to, like, perfect that craft, like, to your level?
Yeah, a lot. So, as I said, I grew up playing Australian football, so punting come very naturally to me. But when I got here in January 2018, I was just coming to literally punt and then party on the weekends and try to live that life. And in my first maybe half a season to a year, that was kind of what I was doing, was just punting and just kind of having fun.
Yeah, because I mean that's what a lot of people want to do, right? Like when you're a high school kid, or in your case, coming from a different country, like people come to school here, to college, and like they want to just party, have fun, and then they're hit with reality. And
Absolutely,
like, oh man, like I got to put the work in.
This is the real deal, right? Exactly. And it wasn't until kind of Coach Shiano got here and he changed my whole philosophy around punting that I realized there's a lot that goes into this, and I kind of, and what kind of took my game maybe to the next level was kind of the mental side and understanding what the situation of the game is and what the opposition are trying to do to me, and schematically where are they putting their best guys in a position to affect the punt. And that kind of chess match was it was kind of addicting in a way to me, that each week when you would game plan, you would kind of work out what they were trying to do, and then you get out there and you're like, no different than offense and defense, I'm assuming.
Right.
And it was such an enjoyable aspect. But that mental game is really what, from 2018, I was just punting to have fun. And then to 2022, 5 years later, I kind of felt like I was a little bit of a coach out there, just because of how many reps I had and how invested I was into learning our scheme and their scheme, and trying to put our team in the best position possible on each and every punt. And that's essentially was my job, is to do the best I could on each punt to put our defense in the best position possible.
Definitely, and you did just that. And,
thanks, mate. Bullock.
And that
Can you explain the Bullock? Why is that a nickname for you?
That's a nickname. Ever since I was a kid, my sister just, she couldn't pronounce Victor, so she just kind of made her own version of calling me whatever she wanted to call me. So
just come out with Bullock.
Yeah, so Bullock came around, and that's what my family calls me. That's
some Polish stuff, right?
That's
there.
Some Polish stuff. Yeah,
right.
That's where I'm from. So
that's a great. I'm gonna call you that from now on, I think.
Yeah. Feel free to. No problem.
Yeah. At Queens,
don't catch my attention.
At Queens, I'll be shouting Bullock, and only me and you will know what's going on.
I'll turn right around and I'll know who it is.
Perfect.
I love macadamia nuts and will always offer them over other nuts. They are a great source of monounsaturated fat and rare omega-7s, which is a miracle worker for your metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, and collagen levels. Until recently, they have been very rare and very expensive. However, House of Macadamias is working directly with South African farmers to change that. They get the first pick of the best quality nuts and make sure they're made as clean as possible. They really took their time to get these right, with more than 2 years of ingredient testing. Go to houseofmacadamias.com and use code OTB20 for 20% off your first order. Follow them on Instagram at House of Macadamias to stay up to date with the latest news and product innovation. So that transitions to my next question, with you winning the Ray Guy Award. Really big honor. You're voted the best punter in the country. What are your thoughts on like winning the award? Because I know you've been in the race for how many years now? 3 years?
Yeah, I was semi-finalist once, a finalist last year, and then obviously won the award this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I've been close a lot.
Yeah.
For a few years.
Now that you finally like accomplished that, like, what does it feel like?
You know what? I found out not long ago, really. So it kind of hasn't sunk in still to this day. But and this might sound like a cliche answer, but our team, the foundation of our team, is built on our culture. And coach always says, like, only the specialists get recruited to play special teams here. Mm-hmm. But the buy-in we have and the emphasis that the coaching staff put on special teams is second to none. It really is. And you can't fake that effort on special teams from position players who were not recruited to play punt. You can't fake that effort with the consistent amount over the last 3 years, ever since coach got here. It's amazing. And guys like Christian Braswell and Christian Izzian and Max Melton and our whole protection of Reem and Dion and JT and Johnny and Matt, their willingness to prioritize punt and to find out how it could put us into a better position was really second to none. And I'm just and it is an individual award, but I was so glad that our team valued punt as much as it did and realized the importance of flipping the field and how much real estate that covers.
Definitely.
So it is an individual award, but I couldn't do it without them. And again, that's a cliche answer. Everyone says that. But it's 100% true, because I outkicked my coverage a few times, and Braswell and Max and Izzian were there to drop him.
Right, it's all teamwork. Like, you got to rely on your guys.
Right, that's a big reason why we had negative return yards for sure. Was Coach Shiano's philosophy, as you know, is 0 return yards. Yep. And when he first got here, I was kind of like aim small, miss small thing, where if you end up getting 10 or 11 or 17, we wanted 0, but we ended up getting 17. So aim small, miss small. That kind of was the philosophy. But then I realized in this last year, which it took me 2 years, that no, this is what we want, 0 return yards, and it's a possibility. And so
we got negative 11, right?
Negative 11, yeah. And that's due to the guys, and Coach Shiano does a great job of genuinely believing in you, and then whatever you do in your life as a person, there's people that believe in you, and then there's people that genuinely believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is huge. And to have someone who genuinely believes in you is such a great feeling, and it really does empower you. And I felt, I've had a special connection with Coach, and we have a great relationship. And
There's nothing like somebody like being real with you,
100%, man.
It's rare to find these days, and once you have that person, then that bond really creates chemistry, and that's why we were so successful this year in punt.
Yeah. Well, we put in so much effort, but yeah, Coach Shiano, he's such a great person, and I trust him, immensely.
So now let's backtrack a little bit back to your journey of coming to America. What was your first impression when you landed here?
Yeah, so it was January 2018. I had just got through customs at Newark, getting my bag from baggage claim, and I've just come from the Australian summer, so I had a nice tan. I had a light jacket on, had a backpack and a suitcase, and I'm going to stay, in America for the foreseeable future without my family. Get my bag from baggage claim. Timmy Falato from operations is waiting for me, and he's got an escalator out front. The sliding doors open, and this wind hits me. It's like 20 degrees at Newark, and I've never experienced that cold before, man.
Yeah, boom, the wind just punches you in the face.
Awful. And I was almost turned around and went back on the plane. and I had a backpack and a suitcase, and I finally make a mad run to the car, right?
Yeah.
It's like 11 p.m. Like, get me in this car. It's freezing outside. And I had this light jacket on, which wasn't doing anything. It was barely a windbreaker. And he goes, yeah, we got you in Silver's dorms on Bush campus. I go, oh, sounds great. Obviously it's not great. and there was no one there because school hadn't started, so no one's on campus. It's freezing cold. I don't have anything. I don't have a water bottle. I don't have a US phone charger adapter. I don't have pillow. I don't have sheets. I don't have anything. So Timmy, thank God, Walmart was open. He takes me to Walmart. I buy all this stuff, get to Silver's, have a couple of days by myself in this room, not knowing anyone. No one's on campus.
You got to figure everything out by yourself, right?
Yeah, and I was taking it day by day, and I was just kind of like, what have I done kind of thing. But, I knew.
Were you homesick?
I get homesick at times, not as bad as I thought I was going to get homesick, and not as bad as other people get homesick. I'm good at compartmentalizing things. But, yeah, that was a crazy experience. And then, as you know, school starts, you're into winter workouts because I early enrolled. And I'm walking with Eddie Lewis, who's at Memphis, who was my roommate. We're walking from Silver's to the football facility at 5:45 a.m., about to get killed, and I was 170 pounds playing Australian football. Look, we run around a lot and we were fit,
right?
But it's nothing like the workouts we do here. And 5:45, I'm in the newcomers lift every morning, getting tortured essentially, and then I have class that night on Livy at 10:40. So that was.
It's a lot for freshmen. Like when you first get here,
it's huge, man.
You got to adapt to it, and you got to just navigate through the day while all this different shit's going on. So
absolutely, you have to, time management. Again, it's such a basic thing, but it's huge, especially for a 18, 19-year-old kid who's living out of home for the first time. That's a huge skill that they add for sure, especially in those first couple of months.
Right. So now let's fast forward a little bit to last season. We made the bowl game after a very short notice. We went to the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, playing Wake Forest. By this time, you're already in Australia, and you get the phone call like, hey, yeah, we're playing in another game. Like, we need you back over here in the States. So explain that story a little bit, how that whole situation unraveled.
Yeah, so when you do international travel, your bag from Newark goes straight to Melbourne, your final destination, as if you're on the same airline. And I took United the whole way. So my bags are gone at Newark. I'm on the plane. Get to LA for a quick little stopover. I check my phone. On Twitter, it says we're a chance to replace Texas A&M because they have COVID. I knew we were high in the APR rankings. So and I've heard that we might have a chance. But my flight's in a few minutes. So I'm like, you know what? It's probably not going to happen. Get on the flight. Phone's on airplane mode. I arrive in Sydney for a little quick stop. 15 hours later. Turn on my phone. It just starts blowing up with everyone saying, come back. Oh, my God, we're in this bowl game. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, this is going to be tough to pull off because the game's in, a week or something like that. And I'm not even at Melbourne yet. I'm at Sydney for another layover. So I get from Sydney to Melbourne, quick little flight, get home. Parents are happy to see me. And I'm like, hey, I might have to leave in 3 or 4 days again. They're expecting me home for 6 weeks. I might have to leave again quickly.
Yeah.
And coach is saying you have to come back. And I'm like, guys, it's not that easy to come back. This is during COVID as well. You'd have to prove 2 negative tests before you go on international travel and fill out a bunch of forms. So within 4 days, we managed to get the negative test, get back on the plane, go from Melbourne to LA to Jacksonville, and actually beat you guys to the hotel.
I remember that.
Which was crazy because Rutgers football was struggling to find their own plane for the whole team. And it was just, I mean, the organization to pull that off was unbelievable. How hard that would have been. And I don't think there's many teams or many organizations in America that can pull that off.
Definitely.
But the great people here could do it. And
we had like a week to prepare? Not even really.
Yeah, it was tight. It was tight. But
then you got to play some nice golf on TPC Sawgrass.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's it. For those who don't know, that's one of the best courses, and they played a Players' Championship there. And I was able to sneak on New Year's Day, which was great after the bowl game. That was an unbelievable experience. So I was glad that we made the trip, and you enjoyed yourself quite a bit, I heard as well.
I did. I had a good time.
Love that.
Yeah. So then what's like your best memory you've had at Rutgers?
Well, I wouldn't say like I could point to one specific thing. I think the people that I've met here is what I'll always like look back fondly on. Especially with Coach Iano's staff that he's brought in. Like, I really enjoy just being around this in the building, and, you know, the guys in the locker room's huge. Like me, you and Johnny kind of share we share a locker, really. Yep. So, like, just coming in after practice, and I love being a part of that, and I'm going to miss that now. So, yeah, I did say, like, the relationships you form over a long period of time here is something special, and invest in the people in the room, essentially, is like a saying that I really love.
Yeah.
And, you know, the great people here, it's you know, again, Coach always says, don't grow weary of doing good. Eventually we're going to reap that harvest, and we will, because there's got so many good people that work so hard.
Yeah, and we're going to have a great off season and hopefully show that next season. So.
I'm excited to watch you run around a little bit as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gearing up for a big season, so we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely.
All right, so last question. What's your message to future players that were once in your shoes, or they're trying to navigate their way through, you know, getting to the top and being the best at what they do? So what's kind of like your lesson or your message to them? Yeah,
I would say establishing a routine. You know, during the season, I go to bed. I'm in bed at 8:30. I go to bed at 9:15, really early. So establishing that routine, it might sound boring. It might even sound simple to some people, but it's not easy to do over a long period of time.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Going to bed early and making sure everything's done early enough to where you can get to bed early is something that and if I didn't have that extra, if I went to bed at 10:45 because I got behind on something, I would feel there is that hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep I didn't get the next day.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't be the player that I wanted to be or strive to be. So again, prioritizing and having that routine is crucial. And then there's the one saying that I love, which is going to come off very simple, but Coach Iano's first time around, he told us a story about how Bill Belichick come into the team room. They were kind of struggling a little bit, and he wanted, you know, Bill Belichick to come and try to inspire the guys, and everyone's kind of on the edge of their seat, expecting some complex like solution to their problems of not winning. And Bill Belichick gets up there and says, "If you guys want to play better, then play better."
As simple as that.
I love that saying, man.
But it's hard.
It's hard to do, but it's and again, it's very simple, but it's not easy. But I know what I had to do to play better from 2018, where I was just having fun punting and partying. I knew what I had to do to go from that to 2022.
Yep.
You're a tight end. You know what you have to do to play better.
Yeah, like I have different priorities. I have different things that I got to work on than, you know, than what you do. So.
And I think like simplifying everything. If you drop a pass, you could blame the throw wasn't perfect or this or that. How about the next time you just catch the ball?
Mm-hmm.
If I shank a punt, I could blame the wind, or I could blame the snap, or I could blame protection. No, how about you just punt a better ball?
Right.
It's that simple. If you want to play
Take
better.
accountability of yourself.
Right. Everyone at this level is good enough. And you see those guys that have so much talent, and for whatever reason they don't maximize their potential because they didn't want to prioritize. They fell into bad habits. They couldn't focus. If you want to play better, play better. Everyone at this level is capable of doing that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. Definitely. So I think if you, and again, I was here for 5 years. For right or for wrong, punting was the most important thing in my life for 5 years, especially the last 3 when Coach got here.
Right.
It was the most important thing in my life. How I could help the team become the most important thing in my life. And that went down to the 0.1% of getting an extra 30 minutes of sleep on Tuesday night would help me play better on Saturday.
Right. Yep.
And
you don't even know it, but once you get educated on it, then you start to believe that it's going to work. And it shows. The results show on game day, you know.
How bad do you want it? Like, do you want to be great? Like,
exactly.
Do you want to be great? Like, do you want to sit when you're 32 drinking beers with your mates, looking back on what could have been or not maximizing your potential?
Right.
It's right now. You were wasting time not being great. You know what I mean? So you got to make that decision. And again, it's simple, but it's not easy. Yeah, I really do believe in that.
Well, I learned a lot today from you. And thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Appreciate you. Love you, man.
Love you, Bullock. Good man.